Before I read today's writing, I'd like to orient us to where we are in this series. The first two videos shared writings I wrote 7 years ago as I learned to find the courage to speak and to tell the truth. Today's writing is different. It looks back over the last 7 to 10 years of finding my full voice. It's the story of how Inner Reformation grew from a dance to a writing, a book, and finally to me speaking my story aloud, and what that journey ultimately cost. Today's writing mostly focuses on writing my autobiography because that book became the place where I slowly learned how to tell the spiritual events that happened to me long ago, events I had never been able to fully voice. Because this reflection spans time, you'll hear references to different seasons of my life over the past decade. I invite you to listen to the journey as a whole because where it ends is the reason I'm able to share it with you today. With that, I'll share today's writing written in 2026. While this chronological story is my journey, I hope it encourages you as you continue finding your voice. 10 years have passed since Inner Reformation began. As I look back, I realize that many of the writings that I've written were created before I found the courage to tell my full story. Hi, my name is Tessa, the creator of Inner Reformation. In 2016, Inner Reformation began as an art project to make sense of my life and to also share my testimony. Specifically, my art venture began with a dance, though it was always my goal to write out my story with the hopes of telling it someday. In fact, this dream began when I was in my early 20s and met Jesus. And I was moved by the story of the parable of the sower. Fast forward many years after a mental collapse and health collapse, I finally began to tell my story through dance. After that, I finally began to write out the story. And eventually I began to tell it, to verbalize it. But before all of that, before I could dance, write, or tell, I had to work through a lot of fear. I had to work through a lot of fear, unbelief, and unresolved trauma. So it took me a lot of years to create and a lot of years to work up the courage. Since it's been 7 years since beginning my book, my written autobiography, and 10 years since beginning my dance, I will share some dates and seasons of what all took place in art and life as I first began to work on my dance and book many years ago. The journey. In 2016, as I shared, I began creating my dance. It debuted in 2018. In 2019, I had major abdominal surgery to remove a large cyst from my ovary. This meant that all of my hopes for my dance were put on hold. Gigs were canceled and my journey was rerouted. So I decided to do what I had always longed to do. I officially began writing my book since I could not dance due to surgery. Before beginning the book, however, I also worked on other things. I wrote a Bible study. I began an outdoor dance project and a thriving project to coincide with my book. As this was happening, I also did a push-up challenge with friends, was making plans to continue my solo dance show via live streaming, and was creating lots of art online. After saying goodbye to family in 2019, on October 31st of that year, my book finally began. It was a terrifying process, but one that I continued despite the obstacles. To begin, I had to get out all of the fear. I had to get all of the fear outside of me. I had to voice all that I was afraid of in order to begin writing. My main concern was that I had to be honest. I had to be honest and fully open. I could not hide or run away from what I needed to tell. People told me at the start, if you do this, you will hurt people. I said, I know. But what they never told me was that I would lose nearly everything, nor did they tell me all that I would gain. Once the mounting fear was out, I took a trip to Eureka Springs in late 2019. On that trip, someone further suggested that I leave my situation to begin a new life. However, that's when the clarity came. I knew that I had to write a book about the impossible. I could do no other thing, for if I did, it would be dishonest. So I started writing the book. I wrote chapter 1. I wrote the introduction. I then wrote chapter 2 and chapter 3. In March of 2020, chapter 4 was penned, and I spent the rest of that March working on chapters 5 and 8 as the coronavirus broke out. I then did another binge writing session for chapters 9 through 12. However, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. Early on, 2 editors began helping. They were both a godsend. Then a little more than 12 people helped privately read my work, and they did this for a number of years. They became instrumental in helping me further refine my voice. As this private editorial work continued, I also publicly shared the book's introduction, chapter 1 and chapter 3, to gain feedback. After that, every writing thereafter was mostly kept private between me and my proofreaders. In looking back nearly 7 years later, it's clear to me that I expected the book to be done and nearly finished after 2 years. And I thought I would pen the epilogue 5 years after beginning. However, my timing was insufficient since a book of this magnitude would take years. In addition to utilizing close friends to gain priceless feedback, I also worked with there was a beautiful bird that I just went past. I didn't get to see it, but I just, did you see it? Okay. Well, maybe I'll see what kind of bird it was here pretty soon. In addition to utilizing close friends to gain priceless feedback, I also worked with Grammarly for editing, but did not use AI. While it was intended to be a 5-year project, I sorely underestimated the amount of time needed, and that's okay. I'm a hard worker, so anytime I begin a project, I work for hours and hours on end trying to create and eventually perfect. It takes a ton of concentration, thought, patience, prayer, and lots of time. To gain further context of that initial fear, here's a snippet from an original post concerning the book, written in May 2020. Somehow, my editor has chosen visualizations that apply to my life. Without knowing me, she chose a box and a music box. Throughout this visualization, I had to close my eyes and imagine my book fitting inside of these. At the end of the box visualization, I threw my papers up into the air. Afterward, I sobbed like a baby in front of my editor. It is only because of that visualization that I dared to write chapters 9 through 12 of my book, knowing that I could not hide anything. With the music box, I held the box to my chest and smiled. My editor had no idea how these visualizations are eerily familiar to my life story. Here are other quotes from that time. Now that my rough draft is complete, how am I feeling? Self-doubt has never been greater. My mind keeps asking, did I write the right story? Fear is screaming. I had tons of self-doubt while creating my dance, but nothing like this. What are my biggest fears? I fear to hurt people. I fear that I shouldn't be writing the book. I fear that I could lose all that matters to me. I fear that I've written the wrong book. Most of all, I fear that I will lose my faith. I'm concerned I will be alienated from most of my support structures. These are all deeply terrifying thoughts for me. Sadly, as it turns out, I wasn't far off from most of the things I deeply feared long ago. Here's another quote from that time. How do I counter these fears? By working on things that I can control and by letting my faith speak what is within me. The concerns cannot have the upper hand. Looking back, it's clear that I viewed myself as the bad guy of my story. Now I no longer do. It was easy to see myself as the bad guy since I had unresolved trauma and many questions and accusations were flung at me throughout. For example, don't you feel bad writing about that person? Isn't that inconsiderate? Are you sure this writing project is worth it? What if it comes back to haunt you? Are you sure you aren't exaggerating? I don't believe you. Before that, someone said, you aren't owning up to your story, then ghosted me. But these accusations didn't hurt. In fact, I barely remember them being said. A little Robin is here. Hello. But these accusations didn't hurt. In fact, I barely remember them being said, since the ones that followed nearly killed me. I'm recalling visions of a certain conversation at a McDonald's that butchered me. Here's another quote. Tell us one fun thing about your editing process. Answer, I read my book over and over using different accents to edit, mostly British. As I worked on the book for many years, I dreamed of making my solo dance show live from my basement. I had nearly all of the equipment, such as this camera. However, that too, along with my entire life, was disrupted as I tried to thrive. I even worked to make the book available in written, audio, and video form. I created multiple files to release, yet that as well came to naught throughout the years because I really did lose almost everything by penning the book. Since the book was disgusting and scandalous to some. Twice it was shared behind my back. I nearly lost my kids. It's not safe for them to be with her, it was said. And my marriage completely disintegrated as I refused to take back what I wrote. But I don't regret any of it, not a single bit of it. Why? Because I was honest. I was fully open, and not once did I bend my knee to my accusers. Here's the thing. You can't change. You can't change the meaning of a book just because certain people don't like it. I'm going to say that again. You can't make man your God just to keep that man in your life. You have to be brutally honest and unflinchingly brave, no matter what you lose, because that is the only way to win. You must speak what is within you, and you can speak nothing less. I'm going to repeat that. You must speak what is within you. Only a demonic theology would say otherwise. Indeed, many times throughout writing, I nearly lost my faith because of how much it was costing. Early on, I thought I might become progressive. Instead, over time, I was led to the roots of Christianity and eventually repented of my former faith. In fact, I often say it is through great suffering that I entered the Catholic Church. In 2025, 6 years after beginning my book, I left behind all I formerly believed and once devoted myself to, and I was confirmed into the church on Easter Vigil. It was a marvelous day. But I'm getting ahead of myself again and need to slow down. In late 2021, I took a trip to Oregon to continue working on my book. Before that, I went to Hannibal, Missouri, and at many points throughout, I worked from home and near Kansas City. I also created lots of art in between book sessions, as I shared. Finally, on October 31st, 2024, my book was supposed to be done. The 5 years were up, but not a lick of actual thriving occurred during that time. In fact, by year 3 of the book, I completely gave up on the idea of thriving. I didn't think it would come, and I had no choice but to let that hope die as well. Little did I know that on that October 31st of 2024, as I sang in Mass on All Saints Eve as a visitor, the very day my in-laws moved to my town, little did I know that just days after that 5-year anniversary, thriving and color would finally enter my life. Hallelujah. Oh my gosh. After 5 grueling, and I will say horrifying years of writing and telling my story, thriving, true thriving, started to arrive. It was such a big deal. And since then, I've never been the same. Whew. Okay. By 2026, I now use my full voice in song, word, and story. I cantor, I sing. I use it in art, healing, and in loving. I use my voice in believing and in living. By now, I am healed. And I will just say, yesterday I had a really difficult day. A lot was coming at me of the great sadness that I feel, and probably the final video to this series is going to just talk about my current sadness. I think it's true that you can be healed or mostly healed and yet still grieve, right, over all that you lost and all that you once cared about. And so like I said, that's probably going to be the final video to the series of the journey to finding my full voice. And I hope, again, these things relate to anyone who is trying to tell their story or who's trying to become honest in their speech and honest in their life, to become very forthright and open and straightforward with, you hurt my feelings. Like instead of keeping it in or whatever it is, I use my voice in art, healing, and in loving, in believing and in living. By now, I am healed and whole. I am loved. I am so loved and cherished. And on days when I'm not sad, like yesterday when I was really grieving, so many days now, I am so, so, so happy. I am just so happy because I truly feel seen and loved by God. And that has changed my life in so many ways, to have the peace of God, to have the peace of Christ, and to have the love of God in my life where I feel genuinely secure. I am loved and cherished, and I am so happy. Yes, I grieve over all that I lost because I lost a lot. But here's the thing, I gained everything. I lost almost everything, but I gained everything. And I still believe in God for the impossible. The enemy's darts didn't kill me, and they never took away my faith. When I left family to write my book in 2019, I said to a particular person that I left, I don't know how to thrive in this situation. And I think I said that and I think afterwards I laid there for like 2 hours just processing, because at that time I told that person had just learned the 2005 spiritual events that had happened in my life that I literally couldn't voice for years and years and years. And I said to that person, as I said, I don't know how to thrive in this situation. And I meant it. Like, I didn't know how I could possibly continue to live the life that I was living at that time. And I remember afterwards that I looked out after that conversation. And shortly after that conversation, I had to leave that person in the family. And I remember looking out at a tree, maybe similar to the tree that I'm sitting by right now, and just like looking at its leaves as the sun sets. Like, I've now arrived to a place of thriving, essentially. Lost my place. I never could have imagined the horrific events that would unfold after leaving, but nor could I have fathomed the glorious adventure that I would be confirmed into. So here I am. I am here now. I'm here now to help me. Again, I get distracted. Oh, there's the blue jay. Hello, sir. Hello. Let's be friends. Honestly. Honestly. Oh my gosh, the blue jay is, I've never seen this before. He's in the sun and he's putting out his wings like he is basking in the sun. Guys, sometimes I wish you could see what I see. I've never seen a bird do this, period. But here he is. Like, it's like he has no idea I'm here. He's totally fine. As if he were sunbathing or something. I'm not kidding. If I move, I'm afraid he'll leave. But yes, so I see a blue jay right in front of me. And I'll just go ahead and tell you, the person that I told years ago, I don't know how to thrive in this situation, his nickname is Jay. His name is Jay, his nickname. So yeah, so here's the blue jay, my arch nemesis. The blue jay just flew away. And I got to see that blue jay's son. That's very sweet. Okay, so let's get back and finish our writing. So here I am. I am here now. I am here now to help me and to help us, to help you and I live a more whole, peaceful, and abundant life together. That's part of my mission. That's part of my calling, to help us live a more whole, peaceful, and abundant life together. Thank you for being here with me, and I can't wait to keep journeying. I will close up the video now. So the things that I'm reading, by the way, basically all of the writings that I've shared up until today, the former writings showcase the massive fear that I held within as I was working up the courage to become honest, open, and brave to share my story, namely to share the hidden spiritual events that began happening to me in 2005 that literally have that took me years to be able to voice and tell. And then I began to have spiritual experiences in 2016. And ultimately, it is because of all these things and me voicing them and me voicing the precise meaning of them, declaring this is what this means and this is why it's happened. That's why I've lost literally almost everything. And like I said, I grieve a lot over that, but with all of my heart, even though I get emotional as I share this, and even though I literally don't regret being open, honest, and brave, like I don't. I was called to tell, I told, and it's not my problem if people literally hate me because of it, or despise me because of it, or think that I'm a horrible person because of it, or think that I'm under a satanic delusion, or think that I'm mentally ill, and on and on. Like, that's literally, it's not my problem. It breaks my heart more than I can even describe. But I am going to tell you, I have gained everything. I have gained everything by losing everything that I once cared about. I have gained everything. I have gained safety with my God and safety in my body. I believe that I am loved and cared for and cherished by God. I believe that with all of my heart, So anyway, yeah, so you've heard these former writings, that showcase my massive fear. But also, that showcase the great battle within to be open, honest, and brave. Good grief. So anyway, let me, as I said, close up this video. Whew, we got through that. It's 10:06 a.m. on this day that I'm filming. I need to go sing at Mass now. I'm going to be singing twice today, so that's absolutely marvelous and wonderful. Again, I thank you so much for spending time with me. If you want to continue spending time together each week, please absolutely subscribe. That would be wonderful. I would love to be together each week. I would love to spend time with each other. Also, if you are moved by these videos and you want to, help other people to find these videos, please like the video because it helps. Like, I'm just a nobody on here. Like, I have 30, at this point, I have 30. It makes me cry, but like, yeah, I have 31 followers right now, I think. Something like that. I don't know. Maybe it's 34. I think I have 34. But yeah, please like this video so that others can see this. Also, if you are moved by, this series, if you would like to, if you're moved by today's video, oh, there's the blue jay again. This has been good with the blue jay today. So if you're moved by it, if something moves you in today's video, please leave a comment. Again, subscribe, like, leave a comment. That would be so nice. And again, I'm so happy and delighted to be with you each week. And I hope that we can keep growing together and keep journeying together in life as the peace of Christ enters more and more into our hearts, minds, and bodies to allow us to rest in life so that we can genuinely trust God and not fear. So anyway, thank you for being with me. Oh, I've just looked up and there's the blue jay again. Oh my. Okay. Well, I send my love and I send you a hug and I'll send you a kiss. And I will see you soon. Lots of love. Bye.